know that.
Mose Knows.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing.
Mose Knows.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that.
Mose Knows.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing.
Mose Knows.
Beautiful people, Mose Knows fam, I'm back. It's been a while, it's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back with you. It's that time. The 2024 NFL season is over. The NFL playoffs start today as you're watching this, later on this afternoon, which means the NFL draft is right around the corner. So you know how we do at Mose Knows as we took a year off, but we right back at it. It's mock draft season. And today we're going to jump right in to version 1 of our 2025 first round mock draft. There will be many versions of this. So this is just the first version at the end of the NFL season. Once the college football playoffs is over, there'll be another version. After every round of the playoffs, there'll be another version. We have all of our, Senior Bowl type events. We've got the Reese's Senior Bowl. We got the East-West Shrine Game. We got the Hula Bowl. Then we have the NFL Combine, and we have Pro Days. So there are a lot of things that'll be happening if we get any pre-draft trades. If teams are moving up, if teams are moving back, then we'll have a new version based off of that new draft order. But this is the version 1 that we have with the draft order as it's set. The first 18 teams are locked into place. Picks 19 through 32 will change depending on the outcome of the NFL playoffs. So let's not waste no time. Let's not overtalk it. As my man, shout out to Smoking and Grilling with AB. He always says that in his video. Let's not overtalk it. Let's jump right into it. Let's get started here. We're going to select all 32 NFL teams. We only want the first round. We don't care about the speed because we will be making all of the selections. All of the advanced settings don't really matter. Enter the draft. We want the full draft board. And let's get this thing started. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. They need a QB. Will Levis experiment did not work out. I think there are only 2 viable options for quarterbacks in the first round. Obviously, that could change depending on, what quarterbacks elevate themselves throughout the pre-draft process, depending on what some coaches feel like they like in a guy, and if they find their guy, and if they're adamant and they're dead set on who they want to draft, then they might shock the world and take somebody that we were unexpecting. You take a look at what the Broncos did last year with Bo Nix. Was he a talented quarterback? Yes, but I don't think a lot of people had him going in the first round. But Sean Payton was convicted. He believed in his conviction, and look how that turned out for him. But Tennessee Titans are on the clock right now. They need a quarterback. There are only 2 available. In my opinion, I think both quarterbacks are viable options, but I'm going to go with the more pro-ready guy, and I'm going to say that's Shedeur Sanders. I think his pocket presence, his accuracy, definitely there are things that he can improve on, but I think he's the most pro-ready. We're going Shedeur Sanders at number 1. At number 2, Cleveland Browns, they need a quarterback. Unfortunate news today, Deshaun Watson has re-torn the Achilles, so he is likely done for 2025, and that might mean quite frankly, the end of his career. Not wishing that on him, but back-to-back Achilles injuries like that. Plus, he hasn't been playing well. I don't think too many teams might be willing to take a shot there. So this team definitely needs a quarterback. I think they have pieces in other areas, and the quarterback is the one spot where they need to add. And I think once Shedeur is off the board, Cam Ward is right after him. Now, here's where the draft starts. The draft starts at, you know what? I'm going to change that. Draft starts at pick 4. Pick 3, we already know where the Giants are going. They're going Travis Hunter. Best player available. Generational talent. They need a quarterback as well. So unless they try to trade up for Shedeur or Cam Ward, at 3, they aren't going to get that quarterback unless one of the first 2 just have a dumb moment and don't take one of the quarterbacks, right? But I think you bring Travis in. He have him listed as a corner. I think he helps that Giants defense. But then I think Brian Daboll might be one of the coaches in the NFL that lets Travis play both sides of the ball. I think he'll primarily be corner, but he might get some snaps at receiver as well. And to think, at Colorado, he had to be the number one corner and the number one receiver. Well, you already have Malik Neighbors as the number one wideout. He proved himself. 109 catches as a rookie. We have a bona fide number one star at wide receiver. But now we add a talent like Travis on the opposite side of him. That's a nightmare for defenses. Giants go Travis Hunter at 3. Now the draft starts. 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much solidified unless something else happens. Now the draft starts. The Patriots will have a new head coach coming in. They moved on from Gerard Mayo, but I believe they want to bring in an offensive-minded head coach because of the promise and potential of young quarterback Drake May. And how do you further develop and fulfill that promise? You get this guy a weapon. Tetairoa McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac from Arizona, is that true number one wide receiver that you pair with a young quarterback like Drake May. And I think that is fireworks for that Patriots offense. Now we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 5. Again, protecting Trevor Lawrence is priority. Jags also moved on from Doug Peterson. It's a potential that they move on from Trent Baalke as well, depending on the head coach coming in. I don't think Trent Baalke is well liked. And Shad Khan had an awkward comment with Baalke on the live as well, saying that if the head coach comes in, wants to do something different at GM, that he definitely oblige and go with that. So Trent Baalke's on the hot seat. Needless to say, whoever comes in, they're inheriting Trevor Lawrence, and he has a lot of promise. He's a very good young quarterback. He needs to be protected. Center and guard are the needs here, but I think you can go tackle and shuffle some other pieces along that offensive line. So I'm going to go Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas here. Bring in a bona fide stud at that tackle position. Take some of your veterans, some guys who've been there a while, who've been in the league for a little bit, shuffle those guys around, move somebody else on the inside, but strengthen that outside and continue to keep Trevor Lawrence upright. Now we move to number 6. We have the Vegas Raiders. I still want to call them Oakland. Vegas Raiders on the clock. Abdul Carter, best edge rusher in the class, is on the board, and it would make sense to take him here, but only it doesn't. This team already has Max Crosby, dog, and then they drafted Tyree Wilson. So they already kind of have bookends. Maybe Tyree hasn't fulfilled what they thought he would do, but he's still young. He's still developing. Maybe with, a new coaching staff, new defensive coordinator come in, they may be able to find a way to use him a little bit better. You can always draft Abdul Carter and trade Tyree Wilson. But I think you already got the guys there. Let's build up somewhere else on this defense. I think they go best corner on the board here. You got the pass rush, and everybody knows pass rush helps coverage. Coverage helps the pass rush. Give me Will Johnson, corner out of Michigan here at 6. The Jets are on the clock. They could also go Abdul Carter. But again, another team with viable young pass rushers that are continuing to develop. You have Will McDonald. You have Jermaine Johnson. Hassan Reddick might return. He might not. I think you can go elsewhere on this team, particularly on the defensive end. I'm going to go Mason Graham here. I think you fortify that defensive line. You put Mason Graham next to Quinnen Williams. You're able to push the pocket. You're able to stop the run. And that Jets defense continues to be a strength for this team while they look for a quarterback. At number 8, I think this is where Abdul Carter comes off the board. a perfect young replacement after trading away Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, number 8, to the Carolina Panthers. Makes a lot of sense to me. At 9, the Saints are on the clock. I think they will also be looking for a quarterback. Maybe they get one in free agency. Maybe they try to develop Desmond Ridder. But I don't think that's the answer. I think it's time to look beyond David Carr. But that isn't readily available here at 9 unless they decide to trade up to 1 or 2. But it's going to take a hell of a lot for them to jump that far, especially with those two teams at the 1 and 2 position needing quarterback. So I think this is a spot where you can go best player available. Ashton Genty is here, but I don't think they go running back. They have Alvin Kamara, and they could get a running back later on in the draft. I think they do help fortify that defense. You definitely could go edge rusher Nick Scorton here from Texas A&M, but I think they go Malachi Starks and add him to that secondary. I like that pick for the Saints there. At 10, Chicago Bears. Offensive line is a need, big need. You got a young quarterback in Caleb Williams. You're going to have a new head coach coming in. Yeah, right. They moved on from Eberflus, didn't they? So you got to figure out how to keep Caleb Williams upright. You might lose Tevin Jenkins in free agency. So you want to replenish that offensive line the best that you can. I think they go Will Campbell from LSU here. He has versatility. He can play inside. He can play outside. If you do play him outside, again, if he's better on the outside, if he comes into camp and he beats some of the veterans that are there, then somebody has to shuffle and play inside to where you can build the best possible offensive line that you can. But I don't think you can go wrong taking Will Campbell top 10 here. That's a good pick, good solid pick for the Bears. My San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. Oh, what a terrible season. 6-11 is awful. Yes, we dealt with a lot of injuries, but got to be better. Got to do better, got to play better. Our needs are typically where we go in the first round, other than last year when we took Ricky Pierce off. But we like to build in the trenches, especially when we're this high. You think of past draft picks, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw. We like to draft in the trenches. Do we need another pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa? Yes. Nick Scorton is here. I am a huge fan of Michael Williams, even bigger fan of James Pierce Jr. I wouldn't be surprised if Pierce or Williams were the pick. But more importantly, we need to upgrade that offensive line. Right tackle is non-existent, and Trent Williams is getting older. I think he'll be 37 when the season starts, 36, 37 when the season starts. Been dealing with nagging injuries here or there. We have to think about the future. Josh Simmons from Ohio State is on the board. Yes, he had the knee injury, but his agent Drew Rosenhaus says that he will be ready by the time training camp is ready to begin. All of that will be ironed out, and those details will be made more clear during the pre-draft process and once all the medical evaluations are done. But if everything checks out, this is a top tackle who I think without the injury would have gone ahead of Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks Jr. So I think we go Josh Simmons here at 11. Not a sexy pick, but one that we need, most certainly. And then I think this is storybook. Dallas Cowboys seem to have everything. You got Dak Prescott locked up. You got CeeDee Lamb locked up. You got pieces on defense. One of the things that did hinder this offense, besides some injuries to that offensive line, is, non-existent production from the running back room. I think Rico Dowdle is a solid running back, but he's not a 3-down starter. Ashton Genty is. He goes to the Dallas Cowboys at 12. Another team with offensive line needs, the Miami Dolphins at 13. They have to keep Tua upright. They have to try to limit his injuries as much as they possibly can. I know that's hard with his injury history, but adding pieces to that offensive line can never be a bad thing. Ariante Ursary is here. I think that is a no-brainer pick at 13. Continue to stack that offensive line, keep Tua upright, keep opening holes for the running back tandem that they have there. Devon Achane is an absolute beast, and he's only going to continue to get better. So I think they go offensive line at 13. Colts at 14, tight end is a need. They could go edge, they could go DB. There are a lot of good players here. I think their defense is solid, and they can add complementary pieces in the second and third rounds. But I think offense, needs one more piece. Give me a solid piece for Anthony Richardson to feel comfortable. Yes, you have Pittman. Yes, you have Jonathan Taylor. But what else could we add? We could add the best tight end in the class. Tyler Warren at 14 to the Colts. Solid pick there. Atlanta Falcons on the clock at 15. Wide receiver, edge, linebacker, and corner is a need here. For me, I want to stay on the defensive side of the ball. I think this defense was vastly improved under head coach Raheem Morris, who has a defensive mindset. One of the things that I think they can improve and need to improve on is getting after the quarterback. They do that with Nick Scorton here at 15. Easy pick. Fits perfectly into that defense. And then we have another defensive-minded head coach in Jonathan Gannon on the clock at 16 with the Arizona Cardinals. Offensive line is a need. But I think at this point, the top linemen are already gone. Ursary, Simmons, Campbell, Kelvin Banks. The top guys are already gone. So do you take a reach for someone here? Or do you kind of go best player available? I think this team needs help on the defensive line, as you see here, and particularly on the interior. Need to be able to stop the run a little bit better. As an example, final game of the season against my 49ers. We already don't have CMC. We already don't have Jordan Mason. Isaac Guerrero goes down early in that game with a knee injury. And then Patrick Taylor comes in, and he's able to rush 400 yards with plus 4 yards a carry. And with a banged up offensive line who we didn't have, 3 or 4 starters, they need to be able to stop the run, particularly in a division that, when healthy, has CMC, Kenneth Walker, and Kyron Williams. I'm going Kenneth Grant to add some muscle on that defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. At 17, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. Definitely need to focus on the defensive side of the ball here. I think, with the way the defense performed, really hindered this season for the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at the season that Joe Burrow had. You look at the season that Jamar Chase had. Offensively, they weren't able to run the ball as effectively as they have in the past, obviously without Joe Mixon being there. But Chase Brown did come on, toward the middle and later parts of the season. So I think next year will be even, a better year for him, and he'll take a further leap. But I think we want to focus on the defense. We had the NFL sack leader, Trey Hendrickson, but I think we get him a running mate. I think we get him a bookend. And Michael Williams of Georgia is on the board here So that's a no-brainer for me at 17. And the last solidified pick of the first round that won't change unless there is a trade, the Seattle Seahawks at 18. I think they go right back to that Georgia well. They also continue to beef up their defense, and they take linebacker Jalen Walker from Georgia at 18. Now we have the Houston Texans on the clock. Wide receiver is a need, possibly. You have Nico Collins. You have Tank Dell coming back from injury. Maybe you're also able to bring back Stephon Diggs after tearing his ACL. But offensive line is the biggest need. CJ Stroud was the most sacked quarterback, I believe. And I don't even think you can call it a sophomore slump because the offensive line did not do what they needed to do to keep him upright, to allow him to manage the offense, run the offense the way he did in his rookie season. So beefing up that offensive line is definitely something that is needed. I think you can go Cameron Williams here. He offers you inside-outside versatility. He's listed as a tackle. He played tackle at Texas, but I think he could find a home at guard in the NFL. He is a man mover, a mountain mover, and somebody that I think CJ Stroud would love to have, protecting him up front. So I'm going to go Cameron Williams at 19. Denver Broncos are on the clock, and they can use a wide receiver. We got 2 wide receivers at the top of our board right now. Like I mentioned earlier, they took a chance. Sean Payton believed in his evaluation, drafted Bo Nix, and now we want to continue to further develop our young quarterback. We have Cortland Sutton in the building. Let's give him a running mate on the opposite side. I'm going to go Luther Burden here at 20 for the Denver Broncos. Get some speed, get some route running injected into that offense. At 21, Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock. Defense, as you see, edge, linebacker, DB. This defense was not what it was in previous years. I think lack of pass rush is part of that. Yes, guys are getting older. Yes, there have been some injuries, changes at a few positions, but I think being able to get after the passer is primary in this particular defensive scheme. And one of my favorite guys in this class, James Pierce Jr., is still on the board. I think he's off the board now at 21 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock at 22. Another team that might need a quarterback. Will they bring back Russell Wilson? I think they will. I think he played well during the final half of the season once he got back from injury. And I think they need a few more weapons on offense. Deontay Johnson no longer there. George Pickens kind of fell off towards the end of the season, had a really bad final game. So I'm sure he wants to atone for that coming into next season. But I think we need a chain mover, a possession wide receiver, somebody who can help keep this offense moving, a reliable target on third downs. I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State here at 22. Los Angeles Rams are on the clock. I think they're in a division that has Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison. Not Marvin Harrison. Is he junior? Why am I blanking? He's junior, right? Yeah, that's okay. It's late. Don't mind me. Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. We're in a division that has very, very good pass catchers. And I think one of the areas of need for this Rams team is that secondary. Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame is on the board, and I think he's no longer on the board as he becomes a Ram at pick 23. Green Bay Packers are on the clock. Wide receiver, center, edge, and cornerback are in need. Again, this may be too high for an interior lineman. There aren't any first round type centers. There aren't any Creed Humphreys in this draft class. But I think you can add value elsewhere on that offensive line. And I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr. here. Now, you're probably thinking, well, look at his rank, look at his average draft position. Why would you take him here at 24? That's a reach. In my research and what I've done, I feel like Josh Connerly is much higher than what PPF is grading him out to be. And I think he has a chance to be a late first-round pick. It's all going to be how he tests and how he interviews with teams. But I think he's a young, promising offensive lineman. I think you can bring him in. And again, I think this is a really, really solid tackle class, even with a lot of guys who are left. And so there could be a lot of shuffling. So I think you take this young tackle, see how he fares, and then take someone else and shift them inside to guard. So I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr. here at 24 to the Green Bay Packers. At 25, LA Chargers, running back, wide receiver, tight end, edge. I think they found their guy at wide receiver in Ladd McConkey. They have Johnston. He's had issues with drops, but I think they're going to give him another shot in this offense under Jim Harbaugh to kind of figure some things out. But I think you need to give Justin Herbert a security blanket. His former security blanket, Austin Eckler, is no longer there. And I think you can, give him help at that tight end position. And of course, it just so happens that this is a tight end that was coached by Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Give me Colston Loveland at 25 to the Chargers. And now we have the Washington Commanders on the clock. Wide receiver, tackle, edge, and corner. They already showed that they needed corner by making a trade for Marshawn Lattimore. I think that is still an area of need. Again, look within the division. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You have CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. You have Malik Neighbors and potentially Travis Hunter. This team needs corners. They need guys who can cover. And so I think they also add another corner via the draft. Give me Siobhan Revel, corner out of East Carolina, at 26. And then that brings us to the Baltimore Ravens on the clock at 27. Here is where I think we can start to see some interior players, particularly on the offensive line. And it really only happens like this for the Ravens, that they get the best in the class to fall to them. And I think they get the best interior guard of the draft, Tyler Booker, at 27. It just makes sense. You get the best guard in the class, you put him on that line, and they continue to open up holes for Lamar Jackson, for Derrick Henry, and the rest is history. 28, Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. Running back, guard, defensive interior, corner. I like Omarion Hampton. But me personally, I like Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, and Quinshon Junkins more then I like Omarion Hampton. That's just me. And so I think there's only one true first-round running back. And that's Ashton Genty, right? So while running back is a need, do you have to get Omarion Hampton here at 28? No. Maybe you can get a Cam Scatterbo in the second round. And somebody like Cam Scatterbo would fit perfectly in that Minnesota Vikings culture. Maybe you can get a Caleb Johnson, a Travion Henderson later, a RJ Harvey, a Katron Allen. You can get guys later. So I don't think they use that pick on a running back here at 28. I actually think they go back to that cornerback well and they add some depth there and they get my guy Jahdae Barron, corner from Texas at 28. I like the fit for that Vikings defense. And then we have the Buffalo Bills on the clock at 29. I think this team has proved that they don't need all the weapons in the world on offense. Josh Allen figured out a way this year to make it work. He's in the running for MVP of the league. I think it belongs to Lamar Jackson, but he's in the running. He carried that offense. And then James Cook took that step forward. Could they go after a wide receiver? Absolutely, I think they could. Maybe an Isaiah Bond or a Trey Harris, a Tez Johnson could be looked at as late first-round wide receivers. But I don't think they go there. I think with all of the injuries this team has had, particularly on the defensive end, I think they find a way to solidify that area. And I think they go linebacker. I think they go young at linebacker. And Jahad Campbell from Alabama's on the board. I think he's a perfect fit for that Buffalo Bills defense. I'm going to go Jahad Campbell at 29. And now we have the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock at 30. Wide receiver, I'm not understanding why that's a need unless you anticipate the Eagles moving on from A.J. Brown via trade. But still, you have Devontae Smith there, even if they do decide to move on from A.J. Brown. You also have Dallas Goedert at tight end. So I don't think that is a particular need. That Eagles offensive line is pretty solid. If you want to look for a guard, that could be an option. But I think defense is where it's at. I think they go back to the well. Cornerback is not a need. Take that off. Whoever's drafting for the Eagles is absolutely insane for you to get Quinyon Mitchell and get Cooper DeJean, and they both, as rookies, play a major role in your defense, play a major role in the success of this Philadelphia Eagles team. Corner is not a need. I don't even know why this is here. Maybe if you want to talk about them getting a nickel, but no. Corner's not a need. No. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Avonte Maddox is still there. They drafted Keely Ringo from Georgia. He's still there. Darius Slay, yes, he's getting older, but I mean, maybe a later round need, but not anything that they're going to go after at pick 30. I think they add depth to the edge, to their pass rush. Shamar Stewart is a problem, and I think he fits what the Eagles want to do from an edge perspective. So I'm going to go Shamar Stewart here at 30. And now we see a little bit of a run at edge. I see the need: tackle, defensive line, linebacker. Yes, could you get somebody on the interior to pair them with Chris Jones? Absolutely. but I think you want to find somebody opposite come on, it's escaping me. Karlaftis. You want to get somebody opposite George Karlaftis to be able to evenly bring pressure from both sides. I think George Karlaftis is a stud, and I think you free him up by bringing in someone to help get after the passer. And I think this edge class this year is really, really deep. But I think at 31, the Kansas City Chiefs go JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. And then lastly, 32, the Detroit Lions are on the clock. Again, I think this is a run on edge rushers. And I don't think there is another player that embodies the culture of a team and the culture of the head coach than Jack Sawyer for the Detroit Lions. I think this is a no-brainer. You bring in Jack Sawyer, you put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, and you send those two guys after every quarterback on their schedule, and it's gonna be a problem. Jack Sawyer, defensive end, to the Detroit Lions at 32. And that's gonna wrap up our first round mock draft. Just take a look here really quick where we've got guys going. Not gonna read off all the names. We'll just scroll slowly so that you guys can see that. We'll also take a picture of this, post this on our socials so you guys can go back and review. If your team is on this list and you like the player that was selected, tell me why you like them. If you don't like the player that was selected, if you feel like your team should go a different direction, please share that information with me. Also, all of the information that I get from your perspective on your team will help me as I navigate, future versions of these mock drafts. Everything will be taken into consideration as we try to select the future batch of stars for all 32 NFL teams. So thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for tuning into Mose Knows. Listen, I know it's been a while since you got a dedicated video from me on this channel, but I just say I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the well wishes. I appreciate those who reached out to check in on me to make sure that I was good. And I can assure you, I am well now. So expect more content, expect more mock drafts. We're going to get into our 32-part series where we do full 7-round mock drafts for all 32 teams. That's still coming on the way as well. But I am so excited to be back with you guys. Listen, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you like this video. Let me know your input and your insight on your team. And I'll catch you guys in the next mock draft. Peace.